Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just walked in here, and I'll be brief. I too share my distinguished colleague from Florida's regretting that I'm not in that picture as well. I will tell you that I also echo his concern in that I can remember when I was young going out and doing snapper fishing, and it was everything we could to try to get the bait below the trigger fish before, so we could get down to some snapper. And that's not the case anymore. The case is I think the snapper have eaten all the trigger fish, because I can tell you that the guys that I'm talking to who are fishing out there in the Gulf of Mexico this year, matter of fact, and I note that this is a year after Macondo, are catching record sized fish, and they too are concerned that we're not being generous enough after we've been restrictive. I think that the question is, how do we find the balance? It seems like we swing from one end all the way to the other. And I'm concerned about the guys out there who make a living catching this fish. And I just want you all to use sound scientific data. And I can tell you that probably the best scientific data you can find is on the other end of a rod. So I would just like to echo his concerns as well, and let you know that not only in Florida are they doing that, but in Louisiana they are having abundant catches. And I think it's for two reasons. One, I think we've got an abundance of snapper, and two, we've got great structure. That structure comes in the form of oil and gas structure off the coast of Louisiana. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will yield back. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Schwab, I almost lost my bearing for a second as to exactly who was in front of me. I thought maybe you were coming into our third panel. So let me quickly try to catch up with this issue that's very important to us down in Louisiana. You know, concern has been raised that an increase in sea turtle strandings is a result of there being a significant increase in sea turtles. More turtles would likely increase the interaction between turtles and fishermen. Is this likely? Because we seem to have my concern, I guess is a better way to put it, is that I understand there's some environmental groups that want to sue y'all in trying to get our commercial fishermen to add additional TED devices because of some significant turtle deaths.
Thank you, Mr. Landry. This is something that we have been concerned about. Increases in turtle strandings over the last couple of years. We have been working out of our regional office and through our enforcement personnel in the Southeast region very closely with the fishing industry to try to ensure maximum compliance with existing TED requirements, and at the same time we have initiated a scoping process through a series of public meetings to talk about what, if any, additional steps might be appropriate to get a handle on turtle strandings.
Well, I'm confused, because it's my understanding that turtle nesting sites have gone from 800 to over 20,000 in 8 years. So, you know, that means that there's more turtles in the Gulf rather than less turtles in the Gulf. And my concern is that I don't think we need, especially at this time, to be placing any additional restrictions or regulations on my poor commercial fishermen down there, when in light of the fact that we had the Deepwater Horizon spill. We don't know what the impact of that is yet. I have my own opinion. But the biggest impact right now is from importation of domestic. Let me ask you this question: how many do foreign shrimpers in other countries, do they put TEDs on their boats?
Mr. Landry, we actually have a process, and we've recently employed it with Mexico to ensure comparable conservation practices to those that are in place here domestically for shrimp that are imported here.
Well, and that's my point. I want to make sure that my shrimpers down here get on a level playing field, because, you know, long after, as we see, it doesn't take long for the cameras to leave the Gulf of Mexico and people to put my poor shrimpers out on TV and say these guys are going to be just destroyed. And yet, you know what, before that spill, we had every shrimp boat from Grand Isle to Delcom tied at the top because we had run the price of diesel up to $5 a gallon. And so my point is that at a time when our shrimpers are struggling from a perception standpoint and importation of shrimp imports are increasing, and we have shrimp in the Gulf of Mexico, we don't need to add additional regulations on them just because we got more turtles in the Gulf of Mexico.
So as it relates to your comment about a level playing field, I couldn't agree more. We certainly want to make sure that our domestic fishermen are on a level playing field with those who are importing product here. Obviously, with respect to turtle conservation, there's a responsibility that we carry there. We do our utmost to work very closely with the commercial fishing industry to strike the right balance.
Well, have y'all done an accurate, or when's the last time y'all did a survey of turtles in the Gulf of Mexico before you reached this conclusion that maybe you need to do more enforcement? When's the last time we had an accurate, I guess, survey which told us how our turtle population is faring?
So we do annual nesting surveys to take counts. Those are imperfect because there's a lag time. Right. Obviously, the Fish and Wildlife Service and our agency completed a 5-year review for Kemp's Ridley turtles in 2007. As a part of a listing review. That would have been the most recent sort of comprehensive stat.
And what did that show? You know, where were we from 5 years ago to today from an increase in turtle population?
It simply affirmed the listing status that was in place at that time, which was endangered.
Well, wait a minute. If it was endangered at 800 sightings, I guess turtle nesting sites, and now we got 20,000. How many we got to have before it gets off the endangered species list? I mean, I don't know. We got 100,000 nesting sites along the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, where is there a happy medium in this?
So I don't have in front of me the nesting trends leading up to that 2007 review point. We did have that high year in, at least recent high in 2009. With over 22,000 nests identified, although levels in 2010 and 2011 have been below that 2009 level.
About how much?
I don't have that information.
Well, how can you say that if you don't know it?
I can say that it was below the 2009.
But I mean, like 19,000 is below 20,000. I mean, that's a big difference. Yeah, is it significant?
I'd be happy to provide you some more
Please, I'd like to
explicit
see
numbers, but I do not have them with me.
Okay, thank you.